Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, Guided Way. I am your guide, Sean, and as you can see, I'm accompanied by my co-host, my little buddy Orko, and if you picked the Risk card from the House of Night Wisdom Oracle cards made by Colette Baron Reed, I'm going to be going about Risk. And Risk is a bevy of things. It's not just, essentially choices, but it's also opportunity, but also, assessment, but also just willing to throw yourself out there and take a chance. And sometimes people have tried taking risks before and it didn't work out. And other times, people just, take that leap of faith and everything works out wonderfully. And so you may be, at the very start of a new relationship, or you've met somebody just recently that kind of caught you off guard, or maybe an opportunity, as far as your job or work goes, just fell right into your lap, and you're kind of uncertain about where that's going, or maybe you are going to be making a move to another home or to another location, so, but these risks are just basically opportunities, and what the risk is that, normally it's a choice that just kind of popped up out of nowhere and just fell into your lap. And sometimes it's too good to be true. It generally is. But sometimes, it's exactly what it is. So, but since we're doing the risk card, we're going to start with my usual cards. I'm going to start with the Ian Daniels Vampire cards, just to kind of see where everything is starting for risk. And just a quick shuffle and a cut. And that's the card. And a shuffle and a cut. And another shuffle and a cut. Okay, the first card is the Priestess. And the Priestess is generally very symbolic of power, but, somebody of patience and understanding. But it's saying, there are ways of knowing without knowledge. Basically, you're relying on your intuition, not necessarily all the facts or all the knowledge or everything that's being presented for you. This is your intuition that, talking to you. And so you got to learn to hone in on what your intuition is saying. Because, like, some people, a couple say, well, I had a hunch. And other people say, well, I had a gut feeling. Well, sometimes it's intuition. And that's the ability to know something without knowing. And, that I'm not going to say it's psychic, but I'm going to say that intuition is just that sensation of basically how something's going to turn out without actually seeing the statistics or having all the facts or knowing everything that's involved. The Moon card. And when the moon comes out, of course, it's always going to be something kind of mysterious. Be careful because there may be some things that, you can't see, but since it's dark and you're in shadow, not everything is being visible, and maybe somebody's not entirely being honest. And, some of the images or some of what you're getting may not be what they seem, in which case, again, go with your intuition. If something doesn't seem if something doesn't seem like what it should be, go with your intuition. Because if you got a bad feeling about it, your intuition is probably right. If you got a good feeling about it, your intuition is right. But whatever you're feeling, you got to go with your intuition. You got to go with your instincts on it. And justice. So maybe the situation did not, and of course it's reversed. So maybe it's a situation where something just did not necessarily turn out the way you wanted. or maybe you had expected a different outcome, and maybe you incurred a penalty, or maybe even a reward. But the thing is after expecting something good, it just may take a little bit longer to get to you because maybe you weren't using your intuition. Maybe you was waiting to get more facts, and maybe you kind of hesitated because you didn't go with your intuition. You kind of went with something else. That whole knowing without knowing, and maybe you didn't go with your gut and your intuition and your instincts on that one. So we're gonna go on to the Ethereal Visions deck by Matt Hughes. That was Major Arcana with that, and see where it goes from there. And a quick shuffle, and a cut. Another quick shuffle, and a cut, and a shuffle, and a cut. And the first card is the Tower, and it's upright. So the Tower can represent that, maybe there's a changing of ideals, or maybe a changing of tradition, or just a changing of aspects. Or it could be just that, a belief system that you were raised with, or something that you kind of, leaned yourself into believing, is just kind of been overturned, and maybe the whole truth is that, maybe you don't know the whole truth, but you may have chosen to be kind of ignorant about something, and you've chosen, not to get all the facts because you did not want to have any kind of, bad feelings towards it. So maybe you've ignored the truth. So let's go on to the second card and see what that says. Again, justice again. And so again, maybe your belief system is kind of overturned right now because something is going on to where, your belief system isn't as strong as it should be. And, maybe you've incurred a penalty, and maybe because, you didn't rely on your intuition. You didn't take that leap. You didn't take that chance. So let's take a look at this third card. The Hierophant. The Hierophant, generally when he pops up, to me that is a sign of, traditions and authority and, you know, fighting faith, and, and a lot of times people will look at it and say, well, that's something that you have to, respect, various achievements of other paths, of other past situations and belief systems, but, act on your spiritual beliefs as well. Don't just, go with what everyone is telling you. Go with your beliefs. And again, that's where you come back into intuition, with the High Priestess, because it's saying, pay attention to your intuition because your instincts are right. And now we'll go on to the actual spread. And the deck that I'm using is called Branches of the Celtic Tarot by Christopher Hughes and illustrated by Chris Down. I haven't had much of an opportunity to work with this deck. I've had it for a while, but I figured that, it would be high time to just kind of switch out decks, let my other deck, get a little bit of a rest, because I used that one quite a bit this time. And it's going to be a little bit different because these cards are a little bit bigger, so it's going to take up a little bit more space. But that is okay. So, gotta cut and draw. Shuffle, cut, and draw. I'm still using the iSpread because I like it a lot, because where the cards end up in the spread is not an indication of, changing the meanings, or, it could be the card may mean one thing, but normally in a spread that's actually lined out. Like this card could mean the past, this card could mean the future. This doesn't have any of that. This just kind of tells me what's going on with your card that you chose as risk, and give me a better idea of what's going on around it. So the first card in the spread, death. And death is not a bad thing. It does not always mean a literal death, more of a transcendent or figurative, or, a metaphor. Because, sometimes, one thing has to end before something can begin. So maybe you've had to end a relationship, maybe you've had to quit a job, or maybe you've just been around people who've just been way too toxic, or maybe you've had to, like, you were living someplace else and you recently had to move, but some that's part of life, is that's part of growth, that's part of how we grow. And is that, sometimes, we have to say goodbye to past things, whether it be people or friends or family or places or things. So it's not necessarily a literal death, but more of a transcending metaphysical death, or, a metaphor death. The Four of Wands, in which case there's going to be some little bit of rejoicing, some celebration, and it does not look like a very big gathering, but it looks like you've had your morning, and you're going to find something new, and you're going to be able to move on. The Five of Shields. So, unfortunately, the Five of Shields, which is basically like the Five of Pentacles, that's basically saying that, you may be at a low point, to where you may be finding yourself in need, or others in need. And it's not necessarily mean that, maybe you need some attention from something. Maybe, you need a little bit more guidance, and you need a little bit more help. And, that's fine. But, I would never see it as like, oh, this is terrible. And it's not terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible. It just means that, you know, maybe you celebrated too early, because maybe you didn't, follow, the Hierophant, and, go on to, follow tradition. Or maybe it goes back to, you know, intuition, that you didn't necessarily follow through. You took that leap of faith forward, and then you ran into a situation where it's like you had to jump back. The Three of Shields. And so as you've gotten moved from here, you are working hard to learn something, and maybe you try to jump a little bit too soon, or maybe didn't have all the skills for the job, or you don't necessarily have the knowledge that you necessarily need when you took the risk. But then again, you weren't necessarily able to get all of the facts. So when the Moon card appeared in the vampire spread, the Moon card appeared, so maybe you didn't have all of the facts. So maybe you find yourself in a situation like, oh, I know how to do this, and I know how to do this, but I was never trained how to do that, or I don't know how to respond to this. So that may be that point. The Two of Wands, and it's also reversed. And again, you're at a kind of a crossroads, and you're at a point where you need to make a decision, but maybe because where you ended up here, or maybe you didn't follow your intuition completely from the first spread, so you may find yourself kind of hesitant on making that decision. And That's part of taking risks, is because sometimes, we want to jump all in, but sometimes we have to take a step back and review everything that's going on. The Four of Shields. So this is where you're getting a little bit wiser. You're starting not necessarily wanting to take those risks, because you've just jumped in. And as you've seen through here, you're trying to, gather your resources and you're trying to hold on to them. So maybe you're trying to save up for a car, or maybe you're trying to put back enough money for a bill, or maybe, some people, helped you out and loaned you some money, and maybe you need to try and get them paid back, get them squared away. But you're trying to gather your resources and just hold on to them for what you need. And, again, that could be from past experiences of, you finding yourself in a position where you needed help, and in the Three of Shields, that situation, and you having to take a step back, and you've made a decision, and your decision was just that, I want to take a risk, but I don't want to leave myself in a bad situation again. The Knight of Cauldrons or Cups, and you're at a point where you're feeling, very emotional, feeling very romantic. So maybe you've come across, a new relationship, or maybe you've come across somebody that you know from your past, but you're feeling very romantic, and you want to use this time as a chance to celebrate things that are beautiful, and have time to enjoy some of the more sensual experiences that life has to offer. And so maybe you're not feeling quite so trying to hold all of your assets in one spot. Maybe you're being a little bit more giving, a little bit more loving and understanding. The Fool. And this is the part, with risk, the Fool, when it appears in the spread, especially when it's upright, that is, charge bravely into whatever endeavor you're going after. Sing like no one's listening, dance like no one's watching, and move forward, and it's saying that you can't be a little bit carefree, but again, because of these past situations, I wouldn't necessarily just do that. But it says that the start of this new venture is going to start working in your favor. And number 12, the Hanged Man. And a lot of people don't know about the Hanged Man. No. Because the Hanged Man is this, when you see that Hanged Man, it generally just means, give yourself a chance to kind of slow down and take stock of everything, and, look at things with different eyes, or look at things from a different perspective. And sometimes, you get to a point where knowing what to sacrifice or when to sacrifice, that sometimes comes with risk as well. Is that maybe you've gotten to these good points, and now you've learned from all of this over here, what you don't want to do again, and that what you have to cut out. And so I think this was actually a very good read, because there's a lot going on, and you definitely have some of your negative things in here, but you're going to learn from it, and you're going to grow from it, and you're going to be able to put back what you need to secure yourself, and you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're going to be very caring and very romantic. So possibly a new relationship, or maybe just an old friendship that's starting to turn into something more, or maybe you just found a new love of just life in general, or maybe found like a new love in your job. And with the Fool, you'll be able to move forward bravely, and you'll have the confidence to get there. And with the Hanged Man, you've learned what you want to do and what you don't want to do. You know what works and what doesn't work. And sometimes that's what you gotta be careful for when dealing with risk. So I hope you found this video informative, and I hope you liked it, and I hope you subscribe. And I just want to say thank you again to Oracle for helping me out, and to all the creators of these various tarot cards. They're all very wonderful. I just want to say thank you for watching. Stay safe and be blessed.